Hey, welcome back to the Backyard Professor Chess videos. After being outside all afternoon making my philosophy video, it's nice to be inside where it's warm. I've got a fabulous chess game for you. I try to find good stuff to share with you. This is out of the book by Tom Furstenberg on David Bronstein, one of my favorite chess players. This is David Bronstein playing Bobby Fischer. This is in the International Tournament Mar del Plata, 1960. He plays the Lewickiego Attack. And you go, I've never heard of the Lewickiego Attack. That's right. That's because he says, yes, that's the name of it. It's in the old books and it was called just that. That's fun, isn't it? Now I'll leave you that mystery and you go ahead and tell me what you think this is called today. But for now I'm going to call it the Lewickiego Attack, just like David Bronstein did. Let's take a look at this Bronstein-Fischer game. Quite fascinating. Bronstein is the white. Our friend Bobby Fischer is the black pieces. Bronstein opens with d4. Knight f6. Here comes the Lewickiego. Knight c3. d5. And now we have bishop g5. You'll see this often in openings. Several openings employ this. And now, bishop f5. Kind of interesting for Fischer, huh? Yeah, and then e3, solidifying that center pawn. e6, solidifying that center pawn. They both know how to play very, very well. You'll notice speedy development. Just single moves on the pieces as much as they can. Minimal pawn pieces. And no sooner than I say that, than Fischer takes the bishop. Oh, the glories of expostulating on chess philosophy, only to be refuted by the next move. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, hey, it sounded good, right? Merry Christmas and happy holidays. It's coming on, baby. Yeah, so the queen will respond, and then Fischer goes c5. This is, and then Bronstein goes ahead and takes the knight. Fischer will respond with the pawn, not the queen. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? You would think he would want to take it with the queen because he might want a castle kingside. He may still castle kingside, who knows? But he took it with the pawn. So now we're going to clarify. Maybe that's the wrong word. I'm not sure if clarify is the right word or just relieve the tension in the center for the moment. And now, knight d7, yeah, he comes to e4. Again, pressure in the center, and Bobby will relieve it. And the queen this time, rather than the knight, will take the pawn, and all of a sudden, just from a few moves previous, where we saw pressure in the center, where we saw occupation in the center, we're now seeing a fairly open board, aren't we? Central pawns are disappearing speedily. Kind of interesting. Just take note of that. Center pawns are all but gone now. Really interesting, isn't it? And then queen will bump back to f3. At this point, Bronstein said, Fischer thought for 15 minutes and then made this move. And he said, you can always tell a great chess player from a good chess player. This move shows Bobby was a great one. That impressed Bronstein. Knight G to E2. And now Bobby goes ahead and castles. So it didn't bother him. Yeah, his pawn structure is beat up, but as we've said, the bishop, the fianchettoed bishop, is an exquisitely powerful defensive piece. So Bobby has no compunction whatsoever against castling, even though the pawn structure is theoretically messed up. Right? Doesn't bother him. G4. Now Bronstein knows where to attack. The castled king. This board is wide open, so it says, if you wish, go for the attack. See, you remember how that works. I've shown you enough games both ways where we know this can be a kingside attack. And for all intents and purposes, it looks like Bronstein's going to do just that. Notice something interesting. Bronstein has announced, more or less, he's going to try to do a kingside attack. Does Fischer immediately begin performing a defense? He does not. He immediately launches on the other side. He does not want to get behind in a counterattack on the other wing when his king is going to get attacked. Just notice how speedily Fischer did that. He didn't say, I've got to come up with some kind of a defense. I better get my queen back up over here, or pull my queen up here somewhere, or I've got to get more pieces here, or whatever. I better push my pawn. He didn't even touch this side. He went right for that push. Just kind of something interesting. Knight G3, for all intents and purposes, it truly does look like Bronstein is coming at Fischer's king. Yeah? He is arranging his pieces behind the pawns so that the pawns can push and continue weakening Fischer's king side with the backup of good piece support. That's an ideal way to attack a king. Bronstein saying, here I come, more or less. Does Fischer give a flying flip about that attack? No. This is interesting to watch. Fischer continues counter-attacking on the other wing. Just an interesting lesson, in my opinion. And you say, well, yeah, all he did is swap the knight. No, he is counter-attacking on the other wing, which is what you should do. Watch how this plays out. Remarkably interesting how this plays out. Wide open board. I was struck when I got to this point in the game. Just absolutely wide open board. No one is necessarily behind in development. We're in the middle game right now. There's no question about it. Yeah, there's a few undone, there's a few undeveloped pieces and all, but nothing's directly under attack. Notice how speedily Fischer has clarified that side of the board with his counterplay. Could affect the game. Now Bronstein chooses to castle, and Fischer goes rook c8, grabs the open file, attacks where? That side of the board. Fischer has been relentless the last several moves on that side of the board. I'm not trying to make a big deal about this. This is a really excellent illustration that he didn't Mickey Mouse around here, Bronstein is coming this way. Every one of his moves say that. Fischer immediately went to this side. And you say, well, there's nothing there. There isn't. Except targets. And Fischer's taking them. I'm just showing you. Very interesting. Rook A to C1. What a nifty little lesson, huh? Nice. He didn't bump the pawn. He developed the piece. Just billions of things to know in chess, I know. But like my friend Odoker in our chess club on Lychus says, he says, active pieces is what's critical for me. He's got a point. He is one dandy chess player. In fact, congratulations, Odoker. He just bumped past the 2000 rating. Yeah. Good job on you. Kudos to my friend Odoker. Give you a shout out there. And now, Queen D4. Right up the gut, centralization. Look at the power of that beautiful queen radiating. Fantastic. Also observe, Fischer is still attacking that wing. Now, Bronstein never pointed this out. It's something I'm pointing out. This is really important. Yes, he's keeping his eye on this wing also, but this isn't attackable anymore, but that is. I'm just notice. I'm just asking you to notice this. This is really important. So important that it takes Bronstein's attention away from his attack on Fischer in order to play defense. Look how masterfully Fischer has relentlessly, for the last, 5 or 6 moves, focused on that wing. And it's virtually forced Bronstein to stay there focused. Fischer's kingside is disrupted. Keep his man occupied. I think it's remarkable. He's not one step behind like most people would have been the second Bronstein showed any inclination of coming at his king. He immediately started focusing on this side, and he has never let go. Great lesson. This is superb to watch, in my opinion. But that's my bias. And that doesn't affect Fischer at all. He didn't get that pawn, but now he's hitting this one. He's still focusing on that side. B will take A4. Now, just look at that position. What would you do? Fischer's move. This is wonderful. Take the pawn, of course. Focusing on that wing. And in the process, notice he's eliminating any strength that Bronstein might have had. If something over here didn't work, Bronstein was better on this edge too, not now. Because Fischer was pronto, prompt, and always focusing on that side. It's now out of contention for any worry whatsoever. Now, Fischer can focus. That's called savvy, man. This is tremendous to see this. Rook, we'll focus on the rook, still on this side, and now the queen can take the rook, and look where she's placed, on that wing. Look at what she's touching. still. It's impressive how Fischer did this. Now this side's gone. Had he left for the endgame, because think it through, in the endgame, his pawns are not as good as Bronstein's. Over here, Bronstein had 3 lined up pawns. Now his pawn structure's kind of, meh, no big deal. So Fischer has literally eliminated any problem for the endgame. Any extra backup issues or whatever that Bronstein might have had, aces in the hole, whatever, they're all gone because Fischer immediately launched his counterattack and succeeded where it was needed. Hey, that sounds kind of cool. Succeeded where it was needed, yeah. I'm really emphasizing that because that's one of the things that Artur Yusupov talks about. And Jeremy Silman. Alexander Alekhine was the master of doing, well, Jose Capablanca was the master of doing this. Bobby Fischer, a rather young Bobby Fischer, was a master at doing it. See, he's still in his teens in 1960. He's not a full-fledged adult man, so to speak. You know what I mean? I'm probably overdoing that, and I don't mean to, but this is exceptionally interesting. Where is Bronstein going? Where is his kingside attack gone? It's disappeared. There is no more kingside attack. Fischer never even let him put his coordinated pieces together to even attempt a kingside attack because he was so speedily at doing the other side, and now Bronstein is playing over there. I just want you to see this. This is a fantastic example of that. How do you defend against a kingside? Other wing. This is one of the greatest illustrations I think I've ever seen of that. Really, I'm probably overdoing it. I don't mean to, but it's a really cool piece. Now, where does Fischer go? Do-si-do, trade with your partner. Now he's coming over here. Fantastic. I'm just saying, you know. Yeah, that was really interesting. That was fun to see. There is nothing over there now. Now we can focus on this side. That was brilliant on Fischer's part. Now he can focus here. Bishop 8-6, and then queen comes to f3. Okay, now it's all going to happen over here. Truly. So this is fantastic. And rook comes to d8, the only open file that anyone has so far. Rook comes to d1. Now this is an interesting strategy. Sorry, I just ate. This is an interesting strategy on Bronstein's part. Let's whittle it down and take it to an end game. Fischer took the open file. Are you going to let your opponent ever have the open file uncontested? No, no, and no. Did I happen to say no? I mean no. This is a beautiful illustration. Bronstein didn't let him have it. He said, nope, not going to have it for free. No way. I would rather play without rooks than let you have your open file. That's what Bronstein just said. That's how critical it is not to let your opponent get an uncontested open file. Not on my watch. Nope, not happening. No way, baby. And never. Well, you take. And he takes. That helped Bronstein, in my opinion. That helped Bronstein. Now, bump the f5 and queen d8 check. And bishop comes to f8 to block. And now, only then does he begin to retake the pawns. And the pawns exchange. So we have two doubled pawns, a single pawn and a single pawn, a single pawn and a single pawn. And a queen and a bishop and a queen and a knight. Pretty fascinating game so far, isn't it? What Fischer has done is, against a veteran chess player who happened to be almost good, I'm being very sarcastic there, he has neutralized the board to where it's very drawish. He eliminated Bronstein's kingside attack, which certainly, had he simply tried to defend instead of worry about that other wing, Bronstein probably could have won, because the pawn structure was messed up. That's that big of a deal in Grandmaster play of this caliber. And Fischer knew it, because he knew Bronstein and his way of playing. And there was, I think he was one of the very top fierce attackers of his day. Fischer eliminated that with fantastic strategy. I just want to point that out. This is fantastically well done. Now, what was I lying about? Oh, queen b8. And now queen h6. He's keeping his line open to the king here, I do believe. Knight takes f5. He's going to threaten the queen, net him a pawn. But of course, Fischer's going to retake a pawn and enter the king. It's amazing that for all of the hoopla that I've made about the negative pawn structure, and I say negative advisedly, just the broken up pawn structure, it's Fischer that opened up Bronstein's king better. Isn't that remarkable? I'm just pointing that out. It's very interesting. However, it's White's move. And this is what Bronstein did point out. He said, the great Bobby Fischer did get this thing into the position he wanted, but it's my move. And I have resources. So here we go. Let's see what happens. Knight e7 check. Ooh. Whoa. Okay, be careful, Bobby. Here comes David Bronstein. Queen e5 check. Ooh, this is getting good. Okay, but he's got the f-pawn. Okay, things are good so far. Now, before you get excited about moving the queen, you've got this, knight f5, because now the bishop is no longer pinned, so you don't want to lose your piece, right? So check with the knight, and the king will come to f7, and then you've got queen to d5 check, and the king goes to king g6, touching base with the knight, so he has to play, Bronstein has to play very carefully, and he simply pops the knight down to e3, which will give him an island to move his king around to avoid the checks. And it's a safe one. So long as he can keep his king in touch with the pawn, that's a great little island. That's a cove of protection for Bronstein. You see how that works? Okay? That's why that knight e3 is such a great move. And Fischer will come back down here. Do we want to trade the ladies? Shall we trade the ladies? Now, Fischer was known for his bishops, The board is wide open, so theoretically the bishop should be able to be superior to the knight if Bronstein swaps the queen. But he didn't. No, he came to g8. Queen g8 check. So the bishop interferes and blocks. Then he comes over here to queen e8 and check. Then he comes here to h6. And now he goes to d7. Keeping his eye on the bishop, possibly getting a pawn, and if he can get rid of that pawn, then he's got two pass pawns. As it is, that's complete deadlock. That's not even worth worrying about. The action's all over here. But it never hurts to keep track of that. That's why he put the queen at d7. Now it's Bobby's turn, so let's see what he's got. Queen g6 check, king f1. Queen takes, what? King f1, bishop f8, that's what he did. He went bishop f8, and now queen took the a7. Okay, so this could become interesting on an endgame. However, queen d3 check, king g2, queen e4 check, king g1, queen g6 check, king f1. Notice how he uses this island to escape. That's a really cool endgame concept. Queen come to d3 again, and king g2. So now they're just dancing around. Queen e4, and now Bronstein changes it up and puts the pawn. Pushes the pawn one. Okay? And queen goes to d3 and stops. At this point, they adjourned the game so that these guys could go get something to eat, according to Bronstein. We adjourned for dinner. And when they came back, Bronstein went queen d4. And I triple checked. That was not a mistake. That was printed correctly. That's what Bronstein did. And you're going, absolutely unbelievable. What an absolutely horrid mistake. Or is it? Fischer responded by queen e2 check. You're going, wait a minute, something's fishy here. Hold it. Man, I went into my other Bobby Fischer books just to play through this again from their point of view to see what in the tarnation did he not take that queen for. Here's why. Had he taken the queen, Bronstein would have went check and got the queen back, and that would have been much better for Bronstein. Very clever, wasn't it? Isn't that neat? That is so cool how that works. So Fischer went check instead of taking the queen. King goes to g3, queen e1 check, king to g4. At this point, Bronstein said, I was impressed with the tenacity of Fischer, who was trying to win. He said, and so that was kind of rubbing off on me, and I was trying to win. He said, at this point, I was playing for the draw. But he said, I made a slight error. What I should have done is, I should have went to f4. And then Fischer could have come to here, check, and then he could have blocked his check and put Bobby in check, which would have drove Bobby's king down to here, and then he could have dropped his queen to here and drove Bobby into the corner. And he said, that just would have been a better option for me had I really worked it through. But he said, I was going to be, at this point, I was going to be satisfied with the draw, and so I put my king at g4 instead of f4. And he said, I really wish I would have played it this way, though. Right? Hang on, I'm going to put this back in the original position, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here we're at this critical position where he bumped up to g4 instead of the king to f4. And now Bobby came to queen g1 check. King went to f5, queen g6 check, king e6, queen e8 check, king d5, queen a8 check. He's trying to get him in some kind of a position to where he can, notice how Bobby appears to be probing, looking for anything he can take and keep checking the king. He's going to try a few things here just to test the waters, to see if Bronstein will move to a bad spot. So they come back to the original place. He bumps to f4. He comes up to g5. He goes to e4. He goes king g6. And Bronstein gave him an exclamation point, and he said, that is an excellent defensive move. Bobby was just probing some of the ways to see how Bronstein was going to get out of check, and then he puts his king here. And Bronstein said, wow, this kid is good. This is very interesting strategy here. So now it's Bronstein's turn to see what he can turn around and make of anything, and Fischer simply drops his queen back up to g1, and now queen d7, he's going to try to bring his queen down here into this to see how Bobby's going to react, if there's any good penetration that he can get in on Bobby's position. Bobby goes to queen h1, check. King will come to d3. Queen b1, check. King is going to come to e2. And queen takes a2 check, so Bobby gets a pawn. Very important. King f3, and now queen a1. And Bronstein gave him another exclamation point, and he said, this was astonishing to see the mature thinking of this guy. This was absolutely breathtaking to me. What did this move do? One, it keeps track of the pawn. Two, it keeps track of the diagonal for this pawn. And he said he's threatening queen h1. And he said he's keeping an eye on the a4 and the f6. He's keeping the track on his own pawn and his opponent's pawn. And he said, this is a perfect move. Now from Bronstein, you can't get higher praise than that. That was one of the moves I just wanted to show you. That's why I chose this game. One of the reasons why I chose this game to demonstrate that to you. In an endgame, Bobby was the master of endgames, man. That was spectacular. So, now it's Bronstein's turn. Queen g4 check. King f7. Queen h5 check. King G7, not back over here or over here, or he takes the pawn. Right? By coming back this way, Bobby keeps his pawn. So he's staying within the group. He's trying to stay in touch. Had he went this direction, well, he couldn't do that, but had he went that direction or over to here, he would have been in trouble. He had lost the pawn. So he did move back, trying to keep in contact, trying to keep in the group. And now Bronstein pushes a5. Okay, Bobby, I give it back over to you. What are you going to do? Bobby comes to queen c3 and stops. Once again, now he pins the knight. He's going to keep track of this little guy, and he's going to keep his pawn covered. Very interesting play here. So Bronstein says queen g4 check, king h8, queen e6. Okay, Bobby, I'll turn it back over to you. I'm going to maintain my own contact. Bronstein is virtually forcing Fischer to keep his queen in touch with this pawn, isn't he? That's a very interesting strategy. So Bobby goes bishop c5. Now he's hitting that pinned knight twice. And Bronstein goes, not a problem, queen e8. And it was at this point that they agreed to a draw. The young Bobby Fischer drew the mighty David Bronstein. There's a lot in this game that was fantastic to see. For me, the takeaway was the extreme swiftness, immediate response Fischer did counterattacking on that wing. That's the whole lesson of this draw. Fischer got the draw. He won the moral victory because he was so swift. The moment Bronstein even gave any kind of an indication, I'm coming after your king side, Fischer immediately lost, and he never quit working it. This side only. He paid no attention to Bronstein over here. He stayed on this side until it was virtually neutralized. And that got him the draw. So this is a fantastic chess exercise for us. There's a lot of stuff in here that was fun to watch. Very, very interesting game. So even though it ended in a draw, very instructional. So there is your chess video. I will be back soon with more chess videos. In the meantime, remember, oh, I loved what one of you guys said. Be good, have fun, do well, and rotate your tires. Yeah, rotate your tires. If you're Santa Claus, you got to rotate your reindeer. Anyway, all right, you guys, thanks for watching my videos. I appreciate all your efforts. I appreciate all your support and love. I appreciate all your enthusiasm and fun. We're having fun. I am going to start sharing some of the club chess games. There are some absolutely astonishing chess games going on in the BYP Backyard Professor Chess Club on Lichess right now. I mean, there are some fabulous games being shown and analyzed and all, and I will begin on a regular basis showing the club's games because they are electrifying. I'm impressed with the quality that this club has. And I'm very honored, truly, to be a member of the club. So thank you for letting me in, you guys. I appreciate that. I really do. So in the meantime, I will see you in the next Backyard Professor Chess video.